basically we use Bitcoin as the security for our transactions. So all the security of our transactions are given by the miners of Bitcoin. So the mining power of Bitcoin are the ones who secure our transactions, and we use Bitcoin as our store of value. On top of Bitcoin, we have RSK, which is our smart contract platform, right? Where we build all our smart contracts secured by the Bitcoin network, okay? And before RIF, we have dApps. dApps come from decentralized applications, dApps, mobile wallets, mobile application, etc. But there was a gap between the smart contract platform and the dApps. There was the developers of the dApps, of the application, they need some services in order to create their applications more easily or more rich applications. So we found that there were some missing services in our platform. So these are the RIF services. These are the 6 services that we are working right now that we'll try to explain very little today. We have RIF directory, payments, storage, communication, gateways, marketplace tools. We will talk a little about this in a few minutes. And on top of these services, we have the libraries. So the idea is the developers or the companies or the applications start to use our libraries to access to these services to make their application more rich and more complex and more secure and more decentralized. Okay? So let's start for our first service, which is directory. Directory is where we manage all the identity on RIF and RSK, okay? So there are different attributes that we focus on, or different attributes and components that we have in directory. The first one we call RNS, which is our naming service. We will talk about this a little later, so I will skip it right now, okay? But just for now. The other one is what we call deeds and verified credentials. These come from decentralized identities, and the idea is where all the identities of the users are stored, are allowed, okay? After that, we have login services. This is, we want to provide a service to make the applications a login in a secure and very decentralized way. I mean, so for example, if you use Twitter login, Facebook login, Google login, you trust in a centralized company that will handle all your credentials and your logins. We want to provide a solution to the user to make this in a more decentralized way where they own their data and their own rights, okay? Data portability is something very important for us. Right now, at the internet situation right now, we have the information, our own information in silos, focused on concentrated in companies, like, for example, I will not say names, but we have all our personal data and information in silos in different companies and governments. And sometimes if we want to take that information and move it to another company or to another service or to our own custody, that's very difficult to do or sometimes impossible to do it. So we want to create services where we allow users to move their data whenever they want and in the way they want, okay? They are the owners of their own data, okay? The other thing, this is a very important feature that we are working on and we want to add to our service, which is called zero knowledge proof credentials. Zero knowledge proof is something very interesting and very important for us, at least. Is imagine this thing. Imagine I want to go and buy alcohol to a grocery store. Okay, I came from Uruguay, so here in Uruguay, in order to buy alcohol, you have to be 18 years old or older. Okay, so if I go to a grocery store and I want to buy a beer or something like that, probably the cashier, in order to validate that I am able to buy this product, will ask me for my ID. Okay, so when I give my ID to the cashier, I'm giving a lot of information to the cashier. I'm giving my name, I give him my ID number, I give him my birth date, I give him my birthplace, I give him my signature in writing, okay? But he actually doesn't need all those information. He only needs to know if I'm older than 18, okay? He doesn't care if I'm 18, 38, 50, or whatever. He doesn't care about my name or anything like that. So zero knowledge proof is something very important, because with this kind of technology, I can give to the cashier a cryptographic proof that say that I can buy the alcohol, but I don't provide any information of myself. So I don't disclosure any information, not even my birthday, okay? So that's very important for privacy of our own data, okay? Key management. Key management is something also very important. Is in this kind of technologies, we have to use what we call the private keys, public keys, etc. The private keys is something that you should keep it yourself, and you should keep it very safe, because if you lose it, you probably will lose important data or even value, even money, okay? So one thing that is very important is how you manage these keys. How do you store it? How do you keep it safe? How do you rotate those keys in case you need to change it? And it's something that is sometimes very difficult to do it for not technical persons, technical people. So we are working very strong in how to make a key management module that is very safe, but also very user-friendly. That's very important for us, okay? This is something related to the previous one. There is a new kind of method that is called social recovery. For the ones that sometimes created a wallet, a Bitcoin wallet or something like that, you will probably be asked to store like words, like 12 words, 24 words in some particular order. Those words in general allows for generate your private key. So if you lose your private keys, with those words, you can regenerate your private keys. But for non-technical person, and even for some technical person too, it's very hard to remind those words in that particular order, how to keep it safe, should I be writing in paper, should I do it in a pen drive? It's very, very tough to do it. There is something that's called social recovery, which means that you basically break your private key in different parts, you spread, so some people that are of your trust, none of them can regenerate your private key alone, but if you have like 2 or 3 of them, you can regenerate your private key back. It's something that is something relatively new, but it's something that is getting more traction, and it's something that we will probably start to see in the wallets in the coming years. Okay. Data monetization is also related to data and not related to portabilities. We give a lot of information to to providers, to companies, wherever, and they make a lot of money of their data. That's okay, but in general, the users are not incentivized to provide those data. Okay, so for example, one use case of this could be, I don't know, imagine I'm an ad platform where I show advertisement, and I can, for example, ask to my users that if they provide some information of themselves because they want to do it, I can share my earnings with my users. So for example, if I enter to a page and I see an ad, I can say to that ad provider, okay, I can provide my gender or my age or where I live, so he can provide better ads for me, but he will share the profit with me. Okay, so I can take monetization of my own data. Okay, I can have some profit for sharing my data. And the other thing that we have in directory is external service connector. This is basically connectors with external different entities like social networks, like banking services, fintech, wherever company or service that want to interact with our platform. Okay. So this is basically the main focus of directory. Okay. So it's everything about our identity, our data, how we keep our data simple, very safe, very simple to use, etc. We have also This is how the components interact between each other. It's not very important at this point. And we have RNS that we mentioned before. RNS is our naming system. So basically, for the ones who sometimes interact with Bitcoin or RSK or Ethereum, you probably know that the addresses are very hard to remember. In general, are very long text or strings with characters, with letters and numbers that are very cryptic, very difficult to remember. With RNS, you can associate a name that is easy to remember to these addresses, okay? So for example, you can have alice.rsk, like the example there, associated with some address, 0xA3, blah, 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 blah. So the next time I want to send some, for example, I want to send some RBTC. RBTC is the token of RSK, which one RBTC is one Bitcoin. I don't have to put 0xA3, blah, blah, blah. I don't have to remember that. I will only have to remember alice.rsk, which is very simple to do it, very easy to do it. And not only that, if in some point Alice wants to change his address, I don't care. If she keep her domain updated, I always will send to alice.rsk. And it's also what we call multi-crypto. Multi-crypto is that you can have different addresses for each network available. Have all the network available. So for example, in my case is pixlr.rsk is my domain. I can have my address of Bitcoin, my address of RSK, of Ethereum, all of them associated with my domain name. So anyone that wants to send me Bitcoin can use pixel.rsk. Anyone that wants to send me RBTC can use pixel.rsk, etc. So it's very simple to use. So that's directory, basically, very simple. Of course, we can talk hours about directory, but let's finish for right now. So the second service is RIF Payments. RIF Payments, it's a protocol to build core payments, but in an scalable way, okay? So we have different characteristics or features that we want to add into payments, okay? First is reduce the fees of the transactions, okay? That's one of the main focus of payments. The other one is the confirmation times, okay? So this is very important for DeFi, for example. For example, if you want to make microtransactions, like for example, I want to go to the grocery store and buy a packet of cookies. If I want to pay in Bitcoin, if I want to pay in Bitcoin, the cashier, in order to be sure that the transaction is immutable and will not be reversed, he has to wait around 20 to 30 minutes, okay? In RSK, we had to wait around a few minutes. That's not very user-friendly. I mean, I don't want to wait in the cashier 2 minutes to receive a payment. Also the fees. I don't want to pay more fees than the cost of the product. Okay, that's not acceptable in a DeFi ecosystem. Okay. The other one is we had to support any RSK token that we had deployed on the platform. And there are two more features that I will explain later, but I will mention here that as cross-token payments and cross-network payments, okay? Our first implementation is Lumino, okay? In Lumino, we have some features, the number of transactions per second, okay? In the case of, for example, Bitcoin, we say that we can support between 7 and 10 transactions per second. In RSK, we can support around 100. In Lumino, we can support in the orders of thousands of transactions per second. That's very important also for a DeFi ecosystem, the number of transactions per second. Low fees, in the case of Lumino, right now, you don't have to pay any fees, so it's free to use it. Probably in the future, if you route payments, you can charge fees, but right now it's no fees. And the idea is to keep it with 0 or very low fees for the reason we mentioned before. Fast confirmation times. Remember, we mentioned Bitcoin around 20-30 minutes, RSK a few minutes. In the case of Lumino, it's less than a second. So it's almost instant, okay? Invoicing is a way to generate an invoice. For example, if I am a service and I want to request a payment, I can generate an invoice to someone to make that payment. In this case, we use the same invoicing system as Lightning Network. Lightning Network is the most famous off-chain payment solution on top of Bitcoin, Okay, so Lumino is the off-chain payment solution for RSK. Okay, so our invoicing system is compatible with we use the same standard that was created by Lightning, because we always want to be very near with the Bitcoin community and all the Bitcoin products. Like Client is something we released on December. Lumino was released on May 2019, but when we released it, in order to interact with the Lumino network, you had to run your own node. It was it's a node in Python. It's very heavy to run it, and it left outside of the game to different users like wallets, mobile applications, dApp, etc. Because you cannot run a Python node all the time in your mobile phone. So for that reason, we create a Like Client. The idea is to allow to these kind of clients like mobile wallets, dApps, etc., to interact with the Lumino network in a secure way, but without the needs to run their own node. Okay. And next steps, the things that we will be working on Lumino in the coming months. First have fees. The idea is to allow to different nodes to charge fees for payments, but always with the premise of keep it very low. Watchtowers, which will increase the security of the network. It's not the idea of this webinar to explain what is Watchtower, but we will give another Lumino specific webinar in a few weeks, so we will explain this later. Cross-network payments is something very important for us. The idea of cross-network payments is, imagine a Bitcoiner. Remember that I mentioned that Lightning Network was the off-chain payment solution for Bitcoin. Imagine a Bitcoiner in Lightning Network want to pay to someone in a token in Lumino. Right now, what he has to do, he has to go to an exchange, get that token, go to Lumino, create a channel, join the network, create a channel, and make the payment. It's very, very tough to do. It's possible to do it, but very tough to do it. What we want to do is allow to any Bitcoiner in Lightning Network to make a payment to any token in Lumino without leaving the Lightning Network. So they will pay the tokens with their Bitcoins. We think that will be very, very awesome. And also cross-token payments. The idea of cross-token payments is very similar. The idea is, for example, if I have tokens, a token A, and I want to make a payment in token B, right now, if you want to do it, you have to get the token B and create channels in that token. The idea is you will be able to pay with your tokens in the other token, okay? That's Lumino, very, 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 very quick and brief. Of course, we will do another webinar in the future. RIF Storage is our decentralized storage solution, okay? That has some features. First, censorship resistant. This is very important for us. For example, in any cloud drive that we have right now in the market, if you upload information that the owner of that cloud doesn't consider appropriate, they can close your account or they can delete your files. The idea is this will not be possible in storage. So anything you upload, it will keep it there. It cannot be censorship, okay? Permissionless, this means that anyone can join with the same rights as the other one. Anonymous, you don't have to identify yourself in order to interact with the network. Fault tolerant, because there is a really decentralized network spread all over the world. So if you put down some nodes, the other one is still alive and the network still works, okay? And this is how it works. And at the bottom, there are all the storage providers. That the most famous right now is Swarm and IPFS. The idea is we will add in more in the future, like SIA or Storage, etc. On top of that, we have the storage protocol and the libraries. And the libraries are the ones that are used by all the different services. So all our services, or even dApps, or even any other end user can use our libraries to interact with the storage network, okay? One of the things that was created for Swarm is one of the most famous, IPFS and Swarm are the most famous decentralized storage solutions right now, are the incentives. How Swarm work is basically like this. One node receives a file, and that file is split into chunks, like little pieces of data. Each chunk, I think the size is 4 kilobytes, and that is replied in spread all over the network. And until right now, there was no incentives to keep those files. Okay, so right now with the incentives, you basically, if I want to access to a file, I had to pay to the one that is providing that file, and this is the incentives part. That's very important to motivate to the people to store the files and to share their drive space. Okay, and also has RNS integration. In the future, there are a few new features that we will add. One of them is the possibility to pay the incentives in Bitcoins or RIF, and the persistent storage. What this means? This is almost complete. I think the release will be very soon. The idea is this: you have the network, you have all these chunks replicated, but the people who is sharing the drive space, they want to optimize which is the chunks that they store, because they have a limited space. So they will probably keep it. They don't have the obligation to keep all the chunks. They can keep the ones that they want. So they will probably prioritize the ones that are more popular, because they are the ones that probably pay more. Okay. So if your file is not very popular, you will probably not get too many nodes that replicate that file. Sometimes I want to keep my file live, even if it's not popular. For that reason, it's the persistent storage of the pinning service. The idea is you pay not for the retrieve of the file, but you pay for the nodes to store the file. Okay. RIF communications. The idea of RIF communications is to decentralize all the communication. We have been working in a lot of products, and we always see that the communication of the transport layer is an issue, and it's very centralized. So we're working in decentralized that part too. Okay. There are some like features that we want to keep. One of them is sensor resistant, same thing as the storage. If someone blocks some nodes on some area, the network should keep alive, should still be alive, should still be active. Permissionless, anyone can join with the same rights of the other ones. Okay. Anonymous, explained by itself. Fault tolerant, that means that if something go down and some node doesn't respond, the communication should find a way to deliver the message from another route. For example, if I'm sending a message from node A to node B, and I already selected a path, and something in the middle breaks, the protocol should find a new path to send the message. But he always should be able to deliver the message if there is a path between the both nodes. Okay? And self-sustaining. This is very important, because since we want to decentralize the network and we want to incentivize to anyone to collaborate with their resources to be a node in order to route all these communications, in order to do it, we had to incentivize the participation. So to win something in order to make these things. So we are working on how to incentivize these nodes in order to share the resources for the network. Okay. So how it works? At the bottom, we have libp2p, which is the library who handle all the low-level communications. On top of that, we have the RIF communication libraries. Okay, and over that, the network itself. Okay. The protocol we use is Kademlia, which is an algorithm, a protocol very, very popular. And this protocol is the one who handles how to make the routing of the messages, how to make a lookup of a node that, for example, I want to send from node A to node B. So the node A has to know how to contact the node B. So that's a lookup. How can I reach you? Which are the most optimist path to reach him? etc., etc., etc. That's done with Academy. Well, that's communication very quick. I think I'm running out of time, but the next one is gateways. Gateways is very important in any blockchain platform. There is always has to be this kind of component that we will discuss here. One is oracles, another ones are triggers, and another ones are schedulers. So I will try to explain a little about this right now. We have RSK, which is our smart contract platform. We support Solidity, smart contract, etc. And we have the real world. The real world we mentioned, like for example, external services, external API, etc., etc., etc. Sometimes the smart contracts needs to get some information from outside. Let's say, for example, that my smart contract need to know the exchange rate of Bitcoin. How many USD dollars is one Bitcoin? In a normal application, what I will do if I need that, I will probably hit an endpoint of some exchange, like I don't know, CoinMarketCap, for example, get that price and make the logic I had to do it. This cannot be done from inside a smart contract. There are reasons for that. I mean, I cannot query an external API to get that value, okay? There are different reasons for that. So we need, in that case, in the case the smart contract needs information from outside, for that reason, we have oracles. The oracles inject a transaction with information of the external world to the blockchain, okay? So my smart contract can use that transaction with that information to make the logic he has to do it. In this case, for example, there will be a transaction that will say to my smart contract, the exchange rate of Bitcoin to USD dollars is, I don't know, $6,000 or whatever, okay? The other situation, sorry, is the opposite one, is when my smart contract needs to make something in the real world. So for example, after calculate this with the exchange rate, I had to call to an home banking API in order to make a transfer or something like that. I cannot do that again from a smart contract. I cannot call to an external API. Okay, so for those reasons are the triggers. The triggers are listened to the blockchain. I will make something in the external world with something that happened in my smart contract. Okay, and the third one are the schedulers. This is in any normal application, we have like crons or timers, whatever that we say. For example, I need my code to execute every first day of the month. In general, in a normal system, you make a cron or you make a timer that execute every first of every month and will execute a function. I cannot do that in a smart contract. For that reason, we need the schedulers. The scheduler will call to some function in the smart contract at the period of time that we say. We could be like this time of the month, every 1 hour, blah, 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 whatever we need, okay? This is gateways, very brief. The next one is marketplace. The idea of marketplace is it's allowed to service provider and consumer to meet and to interact between each other, okay, in a secure way, okay? We also will provide staking, slashing, and dispute resolution. What is staking and slashing? The idea is like the following. For example, I'm a provider that want to provide some service. Sorry. So in order to provide that service, the marketplace will probably ask for this provider to stake an amount of tokens or whatever, some value. It will be in a state that he cannot touch that stake, okay? So at some point, some consumers will start to use the service he provides, okay? And at some point, they will have some SLA, they will have some quality assurance, blah, blah, blah. So at some point, some of the consumers will probably say, hey, you are not complaining with the SLAs, or you are not complaining with your service. So I heard this, but I rent this, but you didn't provide what you had to do it. Okay, so in that case, there is a dispute resolution, and if the dispute resolutions conclude that the user, the consumer, has right, there is a slashing. A slashing is some part of that stake is removed from the provider. It's like a warranty. Okay. So we have the consumers, the marketplace, the economic model, and there is like an umbrella of all the different services behind it. Okay. So benefits, security, it's all handled with the smart contracts. Everything is very secure, very transparent, etc. Transparency, censorship resistant. This is very important. The idea is anyone can provide any service, and which service remain and which are removed doesn't depend from one central authority. It depends from all the ecosystem of the marketplace, with votes, with dispute resolutions, etc. Okay. Immutability, since we are behind the blockchain, everything that gets there doesn't get removed in any time. And self-owner reputation. The idea is all the providers and the consumer, both of them, start to generate their own reputation. Okay, so if you are a good provider, you probably will get a very good reputation, so you probably can charge more for your services. And if you're a consumer, you also get your reputation. The idea is that since it's your reputation, if at some point, this is also related with the data portability we mentioned at the beginning, if you want to take your reputation from your marketplace and move it to another service, you will be able to do it very easy. Okay, so we have the unified common interface for all the services and the consumers. Wide range of services, we will have a lot of them, like directory, payments, storage, etc. And decentralization, which is always our main focus, what we build. And the last service I want to mention is tools. Tools, the idea of tools is maximize the adoption of our platform. So we have like a few bullets that our objectives. One is integrations, is to help to any company, developer, application to integrate and to use our services. The other one is focus on user experience. There is in this ecosystem, there is always the user experience, what is something that we didn't take care too much in the past. So we are really strong in getting services that are usable and are very rich in the user perspective. Okay. And help, related with the previous one, help non-crypto or blockchain users to onboard and use these services. Okay. And right now we have 2 active projects and one that we are specifying yet. The one is the RIF extension that I will mention right now, and that one are meta transactions. Okay. The RIF extension, the idea is to create a browser extension initially for Chrome and Brave and probably Firefox. Okay. And the idea is to allow to use all our services very easy from there and create a very integration with the dApps, etc. Very tight integration. But the main focus is to allow to anyone who download and install the extension to be very easy to use our services. Okay. The idea is to user experience, but without sacrifice the security of the users. And we are forking one wallet that is called Nifty. We are starting from there. Okay. Meta transactions. The idea of meta transactions is something that is very important for adoption. And the idea is to allow to the users to create transactions without paying gas from themselves. Okay, that's one of the main features. The idea is right now, for example, if you create an app, you probably create a wallet for the user, because without a wallet or without an account, you cannot interact with the network, but they don't have nothing to pay the gas. Like in order to pay with the gas in RSK, you need RBTC. So right now, if you want to do that, the common way to do it is you send the owner of the app, send a small amount of RBTC for pay for the gas. The idea is the user can create transactions without paying the gas, and the owner of the transaction is the one that sponsors the gas cost and create a meta transaction with all the gas that are required to process that transaction. that's the main feature. The other one that is very important, sorry, it's allow the user to pay the gas, but with tokens and not with RBTC. That's very important because there are some users that has token, but that doesn't want to have RBTC, so they can pay the transaction cost with gas with tokens instead of RBTC. Okay, we are working in this right now. And the last one, which is project that we are still specifying, is something that we call the Unified Explorer. The Unified Explorer, the idea is to have a unique place to access all the services of RIF. And not only access, but also to see the statistic and to manage all your services from there. And have a very rich knowledge base in order to help the users to understand all the services, how to onboard them, how to secure their accounts, how to manage them in a secure way, etc., etc., etc. It's something that we are working right now. So this is I think I ran out of time, but this is the whole RIF ecosystem. Thank you very much. I know if someone has some question. I don't know. Thank you very much for joining.
If you don't want to talk, you can also write in the chat box.
Hello, Facundo here. Nice presentation. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you guys are planning to do some kind of, I don't know, like instead of a webinar, like a step-by-step, course or whatever, where we could like start playing with the different parts of the ecosystem, and I don't know, create like a small stupid game. It could be a tic-tac-toe, chess, whatever, something like that, where you have some rules. And I don't know, I'm just inventing now in the moment.
No, that's a great idea. We have a few, but Francisco can answer better this question than me. But at least in my calendar, I have a few workshops related to the services that I'm working on. For example, for Lumino, maybe one of our idea of the workshop is make some DApp or something that interact with Lumino, like for example, I don't know, make some payment or receive some earnings or something like that. But I think it's great to make something like you mentioned, but Francisco can answer better than me that question.
Yes, Facundo, we are thinking about making different, not only webinars that are talks, also that are more hands-on workshops. We will take your input and try to work something with that. Thank you.
Cool, nice, thank you. I just mentioned that because I, like not so long ago, I made a course of Elixir, is a programming language. And I came from Java, and this course was presenting ahorcado in Spanish, like a hangman game. It was really useful, you know, like you make a game and you end up learning. I think it's a really nice way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. And well, just to close, we will tell you that, well, at IOVlabs, we also have a talent team that is always looking for somebody to hire. So, well, here on the chat box, I'll put the link of all our opening positions. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining and for your time.